In a desolate European countryside of the 1600s, there lived a couple who resided in a neglected farm. They lived in isolation with barely any contact with the outside world. One day, the wife gave birth to a stillborn child, and the world shattered into a million pieces. As days went by, the wife began to hear the faint cries of a baby emanating from all corners of their barn. At first, she tried to ignore them, believing them to be mere figments of her imagination. But the cries grew louder and more insistent, and soon they were all she could hear. Driven mad by grief and desperation, the wife began to scour the barn, convinced that her child was somehow still alive and hidden within the animals. Her husband, fearing for her sanity, tried to dissuade her, but she was beyond reason. One morning, the husband woke up to find his wife missing. He knew at once where she would be, and he went to the barn to find a scene of unimaginable terror. There, in the dim light of dawn, he saw his wife covered in blood, surrounded by the mangled remains of all their animals. She was digging through their remains, searching for her lost child. In that moment, the husband realized that his wife had lost her mind completely. He overpowered her and tied her to a pole in the barn, convinced that she was possessed by a demon. He sought out the help of a local priest, hoping that an exorcism could free her from the evil spirits that had taken a hold of her. But the priest could do nothing to help, because the woman was not possessed. She was simply insane with grief. And so the husband was left with no choice but to keep her tied to the pole in the barn, where he could keep an eye on her. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, and months into years. The wife's cries and screams echoed through the barren countryside, terrifying anyone who heard them. The husband grew more and more withdrawn, his mind consumed by guilt and despair. He spent his days and nights in the barn, listening to his wife's cries, unable to help her or himself. Years passed, and the couple's bodies began to decay after their death, still bound to the pole in the barn. Their farm became a place of horror, a place where people refused to go. And even now, centuries later, the echoes of their cries still haunt the countryside, a testament to the tragedy that befell them.